Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Wednesday, April 30, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, teachers ignore ministry's request and turn up to vote at branch meetings. Dr. Anthony Rosado sworn in as new compol, and new domestic aerial security measures will eventually lead to higher costs for passengers. We take our first break and return with the news in detail. Welcome back with your news. I am Drea Espinosa. Despite the Ministry of Education's request for the Belize National Teachers Union (BNTU) to resubmit its request for a non-school day today with sufficient notice, teachers turned up at their respective branch meetings in large numbers. The union sent their notice to the ministry on April 24th and received a response the following day. Yesterday, the ministry wrote back the union stating that all schools are to remain open today and that, quote, all teachers are expected to return to school immediately following the meeting, end quote. The ministry then added, quote, this request is especially important given the recent approval of non-school days on April 7 to 8, 2025 to facilitate attendance at the BNTU convention, end quote. The ministry subsequently reiterated the established procedure to request a non-school day, which we are told is to be done 2 weeks prior. According to Coral Lord, the Belize District Branch President of the BNTU, their turnout for today's members' meeting in Belize City was over 500. While she did not share the option members were given to vote on, a leaked ballot paper shows they were polled on 3 phases of action. In the first phase, the options are a go slow, sick out, and demonstration. If their 5 demands are not met, then they would move to phase 2, which could see a demonstration, rally, or massive 2-day shutdown. In phase 3, the options are a demonstration rally, strike, and a massive 2-day shutdown. There is no word yet on the outcome. This is what Lord told us after the meeting.
In light of the fact that our members have been agitating for their frozen increments, they have been asking for their salary upgrades that they have already worked for and have earned. They have been asking for some allowances that have yet to be given to them. In light of all of this, and government is giving raises to other employees, we wanted to find out from them what is their position in respect to this and what they want us as the union that represents them to do to ensure that they are able to get what is legally and justifiably theirs. Of course, our members were very disturbed by this because we have been at this long. We have been asking for what is rightfully ours for a long time. And to hear now that one day after election, the CEOs and the CABSEC got an increase, that was something that was really disturbing to us. And so the sentiment is that the government of Belize look at us seriously and take us seriously and give us what we deserve. We've already worked for those increments. We've already worked for all that we're asking for. We are not being unreasonable.
Given that the Ministry of Education did not approve a non-school day for today, do you expect that teachers' salaries will be tapped? I think you'll be out probably on a half day. Yeah.
Well, I will not anticipate what they will do. I am not them, and so I won't predict or make any pronouncement on that. I would hope, though, that they are reasonable and they work with us to understand that we did serve notice that we'll be having this meeting today. And we have had an amicable relationship thus far, and we hope that continues. But we want them to know that we want to be treated fairly, and we expect that our members are treated fairly.
I understand the notice required is 2 weeks, though, and you gave way
But
less
this
than
is
that.
an emergency. We said that it was an emergency. In December, we had the same situation, and it was not an issue then. December 4th, to be exact, we were at this very same place taking a poll.
Once the votes are tallied, the union's Council of Management will meet to decide when action will be taken. The union is asking for an 8.5% salary increase, an increase of the minimum wage to $6, that the transfer grant be increased to $1,500, for negotiated benefits to be given to union members first, and an urgent response to the CBA framework that was submitted in November 2024. The official swearing in of Dr. Anthony Rosado as Commissioner of Police to replace Chester Williams took place this afternoon at the National Police Training Academy in Belmopan. Apart from Police Minister Karim Musa, the change The change of command ceremony was attended by the Governor General Dame Froila Salam, Prime Minister John Briceño, and Chief Justice Honorable Louise Esther Blenman. The ceremonial event was complete with an inspection of the guard and an official handing over of authority marked by the presentation of a sword and the Belize Police Department flag by Williams to Rosado. The speakers were Dr. Rosado, Minister Musa, and the Prime Minister. During his speech at the swearing-in for the new Commissioner of Police, outgoing Commissioner Chester Williams called it a bittersweet moment. The media asked him about it at the end.
First, I would like to say thanks to my mother who is up in heaven. My mother did a lot to mold me to be the person I am today. Had it not been for her sacrifices that she made, certainly I would not have been able to attain what I have attained so far in life. I would also like to give special thanks to Mr. Ralph Fonseca, Said Musa, Commissioner Westby, Commissioner Zentina. When no one believed in me, they did. And they gave me the chance for me to have been able to demonstrate my capabilities and put me in the spotlight, making me a marketable person. And so they did a lot in terms of helping me. Even when I was going to law school, when I had no money to pay my rent, Val Fonseca was there for me, and Said Musa and Godfrey Smith, they were there for me, along with Mike Pinkstein, Haisam Diab. Those were the people who supported me when I was at law school and had nothing. And so I want to say thanks to them as well. Had they not done so, I would not have been able to finish law school. So they too contributed tremendously for me. And yes, this is a bittersweet moment. As I said, policing has been my life. I joined the ranks of the police department in 17, coming straight out of a bakery to a police officer. And from then, that is all I know. So it is bitter to the extent that it is what I have been doing all my life. And it is sour because I am leaving. And it is sweet for the simple fact that I now get an opportunity to go somewhere else and see how best I can continue to serve my country. The Ministry of Constitutional, Religious Affairs, Indigenous Affairs and Transport is a ministry with a lot of responsibilities. We all know that traffic is a problem in this country. We saw the amount of fatalities on our highways last year, and certainly it is the mandate of this government to make sure that we don't have a repeat of last year. And so moving over with Dr. Zab at that ministry is certainly something I welcome. I look forward to doing what we can to address the plague that confronts commuters.
On Friday, Williams will be over at the Ministry of Constitutional and Religious Affairs, Indigenous Affairs, and Transport. We now hear from the new Commissioner, Dr. Anthony Rosado.
Honestly, it is the desire of our police officer to reach a top. And I believe if I would say no, I would be lying. But all of us join the department to one day head the ship or be the captain of the ship.
So what's the feeling like now being here, having it officially handing over?
Honestly, I'm still wondering if I'm dreaming. But I know the intense weight of the responsibility, and I know that it will not be an easy journey. But with the support of the public and all stakeholders, I believe we can do a lot and make our community much safer.
Talk about your vision for your tenure.
Honestly, first of all, my message to the public is one of commitment and collaboration. I am dedicated to reforming, refocusing, and rebuilding the police department. Like I said, I know it will not be an easy journey, but with the support of the public and all stakeholders, I believe we can create safer communities and a more transparent and more effective police department.
How has this transition period been for you so far?
Honestly, it has given me the opportunity to sit with my senior command to hear the challenges and concern, and it allowed me to put together my strategic plan. Hence the reason I have termed my strategic plan reforming, refocusing, and rebuilding the police department.
This year in particular has seen an increase in gun violence compared to like last year when it was relatively quiet. What is your plan to hopefully not pass those numbers from last year?
Honestly, we will do some restructuring and addressing critical security challenges like gang violence, illicit trafficking of firearms, transnational crimes, cybercrime, do require a collaborative and multifaceted approach. Hence, I believe that through our through prevention, through intervention, and through our enforcement strategies, we will reduce gang violence, we will disrupt the illicit flow of trafficking of firearms, and we will ensure that we address the growing threat of cybercrime and transnational crimes.
Rosado says one of the first orders of business will be to meet with all his commanders to understand their challenges. He also intends to meet with those stakeholders. He also indicated that Williams has committed to assist if he ever needs any guidance. Narda Garcia, the CEO in the Office of the Prime Minister, which oversees civil aviation, led a press conference today where officials reported on the Holy Thursday domestic aircraft hijacking and detailed what measures have been put in place and will follow to tighten domestic aviation security. Since the evening of the hijacking, police officers were deployed to the municipal aerodromes and will remain there until this coming Monday when a private firm will take over the security. Their employees are currently being trained. The local airlines were also required to put in place basic security measures that included passenger and bag screening. Director of Civil Aviation Nigel Carter explained the measures to come in the next few days, weeks, and months.
As of last Friday, we have conducted a full sweep of all aerodromes that provide services to commercial air transport, so scheduled operations. We have done a full sweep of those with regional partners with the intent of identifying the best possible and most efficient way of implementing these security measures. We have clearly defined prohibited items, so items that can't go on board an aircraft. And the intent is for us to have a public awareness campaign to ensure that the general public is aware of what they can and cannot take on board an aircraft. So firearms can't go on board an aircraft. You must declare it, and steps are taken to ensure that that aircraft is not necessarily in the cabin. We'll continue to urge passengers to try to come in ahead of time before the flights. We recommend an hour. We're going to improve on incident reporting. So any incidents of unruly passengers, we're going to require that this be reported because obviously we have to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. And obviously with having more data, we'll be able to carry out any analysis and ensure that that we can be proactive about the security measures that we'll continue to improve as we go along. As it pertains to passenger screening, there'll be use of handheld metal detectors as well as walk-through metal detectors. And all hand baggage will be checked for any prohibited items. We'll be searching whole baggage as well. When I say whole baggage, when I say whole baggage, I refer to all the baggage going in the cargo compartment of the aircraft. Those will be searched as well. We'll be segregating passengers. So once you go through a screening process, you won't be able to exit. If you exit, you'll have to be rescreened. We'll be able to ensure that passengers that are inside any restricted areas are free from any dangerous items or prohibited items.
Employees will also be screened. CEO Garcia reported that the Belize Airports Authority will observe the new costs for the first year, but thereafter passengers will have to pay for the added security.
Morning in discussion with the airlines, we were talking about that. What I do know from the meetings that I went to the BAA before, talking conceptually about the whole issue of security services, the BAA had said that they could absorb the cost for 1 year, but after that they would have to levy a fee for security services. And if you look at the charges at the Philip Colston Airport, you will see that there is a fee for security services that are paid by the traveler or by the people. So we will have to look at where to get to pay that. It either we have to do that, or I don't know where else can we get it, but put it on a ticket or pay it separately, but from the passengers.
So it signals a potential increase in air travel costs
Definitely.
domestically.
The criminal charge against UDP Senator-designate Patrick Faber has been described as the first true test of the leadership of the Honorable Tracy Panton as leader of the opposition. After his arraignment Tuesday, when he was granted bail for charges of aggravated assault and obstruction, Faber's attorney, Orson Elrington, and Faber himself stated it would be Panton to decide his fate in the Senate. Faber insisted his arrest was politically motivated.
I did not do anything that would constitute any kind of aggravated assault, nor did I try to stop the police, obstruct the police from doing its job. The police who gave me 2 tickets, by the way, and that was that last night. One for my taillights. That's the real reason why they claim they stopped me, and they don't show you all of the video. I haven't seen what they've shown you, but from what people are telling me, they dice and spice what they want, which is a matter in itself. If the police recorded me, how can the video, because I didn't share my version of the video, I have not done so yet, but how can the police video be floating all around? Are they really interested in what is their motive? Clearly it is to try to bring embarrassment and bring shame. And so I am saying for the record that I am not guilty of those charges, and of course we'll wait for the court for us to have our day and for it to be determined. This is not the first time that I've endured such a charge. This is not the first time that I've been targeted because of politics in this manner. I'm not saying that the police didn't have a right to stop me and all of that, but I complied with all that they asked me to do. And all I was trying to do was to make sure, in fact, that I had a version of what happened, for the very same reason that I know very well how they are able to use these things in a politically slanted way.
The only person that can speak to that is not here. And I would think that that person was the first person that called me, and is a very smart person and can read. And anybody that can read and that can look at a video would say a man would be absolutely behind Honorable Patrick Faber, who is subject to political prosecution.
This morning, Panton made her position known. In a statement of Facebook, she said there was an attempt to sideline their maiden press conference with, quote, an unfortunate incident, end quote. She then stated, quote, categorically that I believe in the rule of law. As citizens of this country, we must respect both the law and our law enforcement officers. I also believe in personal responsibility for our conduct and behavior. As leaders, we are expected to maintain a certain decorum in both our professional and personal lives. Regrettably, however, what transpired yesterday was, in my view, a blatant abuse of power and authority by hired agents of the state. If there was indeed aggravated assault of a police officer or the obstruction of justice as the police have alleged, why wasn't the senator arrested and charged immediately? It would have certainly been in the police's authority and prerogative to do so. The attempt to arrest Senator Faber during a press conference being held by His Majesty's opposition to discuss serious national issues affecting the lives and livelihoods of the Belizean people, several hours after this alleged incident, suggests to me that the motive was not about adherence to the rule of law, but something far more sinister. The question that lingers is who provided the directive to have Senator Faber arrested and why, end quote. Referencing daily stories of abuse by police, Panton has called on Dr. Richard Rosado, the new Commissioner of Police, to, quote, see to it that this disturbing practice and culture are arrested post haste, end quote. She then asked Belizeans to remain focused on the current critical national issues. After the break, how did Captain Howell Grange best the hijacker? We'll hear from a civil aviation director. Stay with us.
Hi there. Are you on your phone right
Captain Howell Grange has told his story of how he outwitted hijacker Akiniela Taylor on Holy Thursday, and today at the Civil Aviation Press Conference, officials from both Civil Aviation and the Joint Intelligence Operations Center provided their account of what transpired. Stanley Gideon, the Deputy Director of the Department of Civil Aviation, shared the air traffic controllers maintained calm and professionalism. At 8:17, they first knew something was wrong, and at 8:37, they confirmed it was a hijacking when they got the first call from the aircraft.
At that point in time, ATC protocol went into effect, where the CEO was alerted and Jack was alerted, and the coordination continued at that level. ATC then continued to monitor the situation and, in layman's term, trying to sterilize the airspace, meaning that any aircraft that took off, we asked them to return back to their destination or find an alternate. We wanted only the particular aircraft in the sky. And about 9 o'clock there, about Jack was already in the air and had sights on the aircraft. So at that point in time, only Jack on the aircraft was in the skies as it shuttled the hijacking aircraft. What we want to highlight is that in the split moment, the pilot had ability to speak to the ATC in Spanish, because the hijacker obviously English speaking, and this is where the rules started. He asked them to please speak in Spanish. He wants to pretend that he's going through Mexico airspace on his way to the United States. And when he got closer, and the ruse is when they have transversed Mexican airspace, to have an American voice come on. And this went without a hitch. That was the amazing part of this, that ATC picked up on the pilot's ruse, and for the next hour and a half thereabout in the airspace, this aircraft, as you can see, I'm pretty sure some of you guys have flight tracker and was monitoring. This aircraft never left Belizean airspace. The pilot flew in a way to confuse the hijacker and stayed over the water. And what we learned is that he's trying to stay in the clouds. And this way, ATC could have continued the ruse. So when he spoke back to us and says in Spanish that he's permission to transit through Mexican airspace, the air traffic controller answered as though he was a Mexican air traffic controller and cleared him, while at the same time giving vectors to make sure that he stayed close to any potential landing airports in Belize. When it was time to come back to Belize International Airport as such, the ruse was now to ask for an American accent to pretend that they're coming in to land in an American airport. But this was a skillful ruse between the air traffic controllers and the pilots to put this entire flight in different regions, but it stayed over Belize, and that coordination cannot be matched at any level. I can say with amazement how the pilot and the ATC worked together to pull off this ruse.
In speaking about the charges of aggravated assault and obstruction against UDP Senator-designate Patrick Faber, former Commissioner of Police Chester Williams has indicated that he aggravated the police officer in his behavior.
I think those two police officers need to be commended. They were extremely calm, extremely patient, and extremely professional. I personally, and when I said to people, when I saw the video, I said to them, if I were those police, I would have thumped him. And I said that. He was certainly provocative, intimidating. We have said over and over, there's nothing wrong for any citizen to record the police. The police are out there performing a duty. We have nothing to hide. Our actions can be recorded by anybody. But while you do so, you cannot obstruct the police. So for him to be all up in the face of the police, and for OJ to be so cynical yesterday, insinuating to the media that they're assaulting him because the cameras are so close, that was the stupidest excuse, right? The cameras yesterday were not coming into his face. He stood there for an interview. In the case of the police and Mr. Faber, even as the police told him, give me open space, just step back a bit, he constantly was in the face of the police. And when the police went up a stairs, you saw where he climbed up the stairs going after the police. That was unnecessary. Then he will say to the police that the police were assaulting a public officer. Really, the law is clear. If you assault a public officer in the execution of their duty, it did not say if you assault a public officer who may be drinking or who may be drunk, right? If you are drinking or you are drunk, even if you're a police and you're out there under the influence, your duties as a police officer is removed. Okay, you cannot then shield yourself with the law to say that you're acting in the execution of a duty while you were drunk. The law does not cover you. So we must ensure we apply the law the way it should. And for him to say he's going to make a counter complaint against the police or a press complaint, it is not going to, well, I'm not the commissioner no more, but I don't think that it is going to be entertained, and I gave that instruction yesterday that it must not be entertained. Again, those police officers should be commended for the exceptional job that they did, and this has nothing to do with politics. It's not that the police officer matter is the political chair of any POP committee. Everyone who saw the video, who is an objective and reasonable thinker, can see for themselves that Mr. Faber was the one who was aggressing, was the one who was intimidating, and was the one who was provoking those police officers.
Have we confirmed that Mr. Faber was driving under the influence?
Well, again, the police officers dropped the ball. And I guess perhaps they did because of the intimidating tactics that he applied on them. They did not ask him for a blood or urine sample, so the ball was dropped here.
During the United Democratic Party's press conference on Tuesday, the UDP chairperson, attorney Sheena Pitts, indicated that the party is not awaiting the decision of High Court Justice Tawanda Hundara regarding who is the true UDP. Pitts reminded the media that Justice Hundara had previously advised both factions to meet and resolve their differences amicably. She said that it is exactly what the party has started doing.
At the end of the hearing, Justice Hundara, in his infinite wisdom, commended to the parties for in Belize, as we say, the umpteenth time, that it is the parties who ought get together and resolve their differences. And so, Ms. Lanza, the party has said today that we are moving forward. We're moving forward in unity and by inclusion. So, Ms. Lanza, that means that every UDP member is invited to move forward with us, irrespective of whatever our positions may be in law, in court, and without prejudice to same. So then, if moving forward contemplates that we invite Mr. August, you say on your end that you are the vice chair, sure, join us on our way forward to mend the party back. And so, my dear Ms. Lanza, inclusion is a verb, and we are doing it, and it means that everyone is invited.
Notwithstanding Pitts' position, what has been playing out is an apparent tit-for-tat game for control over the party headquarters, with locks being changed out by operatives who support Panton, and those being changed back on the directive of Moses Shine Barrow, who has said he remains the leader of the UDP. Village council elections will be held across the country in May and June. During the UDP press conference on Tuesday, interim party leader Honorable Tracy Panton told the media that she is meeting with representatives of all 31 constituencies to discuss the upcoming elections. However, she indicated that the party will first resolve the issue of finding standard bearers for Dangriga and Toledo East.
We have scheduled destination visits to all 31 constituencies so that we can meet with our executive committees, we can meet with our constituency committees, so we can look critically of what needs to be done in each constituency to restart or to start the rebuilding process. So it differs in constituencies. For example, there are 2 constituencies in the South that don't currently have caretakers. Those persons did not show up on nomination day. So the first order of business for Toledo East and for Dangriga is for us to find appropriate caretakers to help us deal with the issue of village councils, elections, for example. We are going to contest the village council elections, and we will, as we did for the general elections, lean on our friends to support the effort to ensure that we maintain a healthy, a robust, and a functioning democracy.
Village councils will be dissolved on May 17 and May 24th. Prime Minister John Briceño today announced that Honorable Dolores Balderramos Garcia is being appointed the new chairperson of the National AIDS Commission. The senior minister of state who works out of the office of the Prime Minister is quoted saying, quote, "I am pleased to accept the Prime Minister's appointment because there is still much work to do in combating HIV. I will strive to work with all stakeholders in this continuing challenge," end quote. After the break, UDP calls on PUP administration to acquire Cayo Rosario. Stay tuned.
20 years ago, we built a
Residents of Ambergris Key have been calling for the Cayo Rosario development to be halted. Residents and other stakeholders are worried about the project, which includes overwater structures. It is believed the works could harm the ecosystem in the Hull Chan Marine Reserve, whose waters surround the Keys. During the UDP's press conference on Tuesday, UDP Senator-designate Gabriel Zetina, who lives in San Pedro, said the development could damage the environment and also affect the tourism industry.
Long before Belize gained its independence, and I'm talking about as far back as 1969, when Florida Audubon Society pledged to preserve the bird species at Cayo Rosario. You could see from then that efforts were already being taken to protect this delicate ecosystem. So it wasn't by accident, because the people then recognized that this area was a sanctuary. But somewhere along the way, and I will be specific, in July of 2007, under a questionable government at that time, questionable decisions were made regarding Cayo Rosario, and it transitioned from being protected public land into the hands of private entities. And now we're seeing the consequences of that short-sighted government. We welcome investors who respect our environment and honor our protected areas, who understand that no short-term profits should never come at the cost of long-term suffering and destruction.
Zetina called on the government to acquire Cayo Rosario, saying the precedent was set when State Bank was acquired.
We're giving the government two clear options. Option one, the way they've been handling things. The government can continue siding with the developer and de-reserve the area and prepare to face the full wrath and resistance of the people who elected them into office. Or option two, correct your mistake, Mr. Prime Minister. The same mistake you made as Minister of Natural Resources, and now again as Prime Minister. How? By acquiring Cayo Rosario and returning it to its people. If the government found the will, the funds to acquire State Bank, then surely they can do the same for Cayo Rosario. Whether, I have to give this government all the answers, but here it goes. Whether through compulsory acquisition, negotiating directly with the developers, or seeking legal process. But we must reclaim this land for the sake of the marine reserve that surrounds Cayo Rosario.
Earlier this month, we reported the issue surrounding the Belmopan Market Plaza. The owner of the market, David Zabaneh, told the media he had signed a 30-year memorandum of agreement with former Belmopan Mayor Sharon Palacio to pay $30,000 a year as a blanket trade license for vendors at the market. The Belmopan City Council recently approached Zabaneh, saying that the MOU is no longer valid and they are requiring individual vendors to pay their own trade licenses. On Tuesday, Belmopan Mayor Pablo Coich spoke with our colleagues at Plus TV and said he met with Zabaneh to discuss the issue further.
I met with Mr. Zabaneh, I think about a week and a half ago, a couple days after I met with Honorable Mira to update him on where we were and what was the situation. As explained to Mr. Zabaneh, I think there was a misconception where he felt that we were trying to attack his business and we were trying to take over the market. We have no interest in that. As I explained to him, what our goal was and has always been is that we are trying to ensure that the vendors are operating legally. That is something I believe I have harped on throughout our term so far, ensuring that things are happening legally. And I went as far as to break down the method of the approach that we're recommending for the vendors. It would be a case where these trade licenses would be paid directly to the council. It is a $300 a year fee for a peddler's license, and specifically a peddler's license because these vendors are not associated to a physical address. We are flexible enough to allow a payment plan for these trade licenses because we understand the financial complications that these vendors sometimes have.
Mayor Kowich explained that what Zabaneh has been paying was basically a type of landlord trade license and that the vendors need to pay their individual trade license to be able to conduct business within the market.
That $30,000 a year was also something discussed with Mr. Zabaneh. We expressed to him that due to the misconception that existed initially, we were going to revisit and properly calculate the fee which he was supposed to be paying, because what he was supposed to be paying was a type of landlord trade license since he's providing space. Does Plus TV own the land where you operate from right now? And do you have to pay a trade license?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Yes. It doesn't matter where you are operating from, private or public land. The trade license is the legal authority for you to be able to process business transactions within a municipality.
The UBAD Educational Foundation, UEF, led by Chairperson Yaya Marin Coleman, is bringing to the fore an issue that saw Pan-Africanists mobilize in several countries today in support of transitional president, 37-year-old Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso in West Africa. He took control of the country in 2022, and since then he has acted to rebuke Burkina Faso's former colonial ties with France. Earlier this month, Traore was accused by United States General Michael Langley during a Senate committee hearing of misusing Burkina Faso's gold reserves for personal protection. It's another case of international meddling of the United States, and it is being vehemently rejected by the people of Burkina Faso. Marin Coleman explained why this activism is important and provided additional background on Captain Traore.
If you look at UEF's logo, you'll see the continent of Africa next to the map of Belize, a map of the continent of Africa next to the map of Belize. We are always clear and we know that we are African-centered in our values, in our worldview, and that's Mama Africa for us. And we know that the name what people know the continent as right now, all 54 countries, recognizing that melanated, deeply dark-skinned people were the first people documented as contributors to the cradle of civilization. So that means once we people, and no our kinfolk aren't our kinfolk, once we people are in need in any way and we could help, even if it mean interceding to our African ancestors and ancestors, learning more about what happened, see how it is that we could show solidarity. Captain President Ibrahim Traore has military training. And so there was a leader, I think 80, maybe 83 to 87. His name was Brother Thomas Sankara. He changed the name of the colonial name from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, which means land of upright men. And he was very different from a lot of African leaders in that he was very humble. He ride on bicycle. He sell off like the Mercedes Benz what they use for the government. The clothing work, public workers wear them traditional clothing, and he was very focused on being self-sufficient and the sovereignty of the country. There was a coup, he won people and sell out for the military, and Brother Ibrahim has made it known how much he admires ancestor Thomas Sankara leadership, and he want to finish where he may start. The people of Burkina Faso are very inspired and hopeful. Over the short period of time from 2022, he has invested in agriculture for ensure that they have self-sufficiency. It chase out the French. Ensure that they build a gold refinery so that them benefit from the natural resource of gold. And then they behave under his leadership and his team, then they decolonize and they move away from a European worldview. And so then they say both France and the United States have no right for to tell them what will happen in a them country, what that them for decide what will happen. Now, a majority of our African ancestors came from the west coast of Africa, and Burkina Faso is on the west coast of Africa. So it's important that we document and tell our own stories to say who we align with, who it is that we are in solidarity with, have great respect and honor for, and for make like most of the protests gone at the U.S. Embassy. Because this happened in one Senate hearing for the U.S. So I've sent one signal to the United States and some gone at the French Embassy that we got our eyes on him, because we know how countries like the United States, for example, have killed political leaders. And so because so much eyes upon her right now, they might not necessarily do a straight assassination, but then they have other ways of going in our country and make it unstable and look like the white man have to come rescue we can't manage yourself. But African descendants and continental African, they make it known globally. We got our eyes on this brother, hands off Ibrahim Traore.
And in more political news, on Tuesday evening's newscast, we reported that 2 UDP area representatives were absent from the party's press conference on that day. Leader of the opposition, Honorable Tracy Panton, had addressed the issue during her speech, stating that Kaya West area representative Michael Guerra was sick, while Corozal North's area representative Hugo Pat was attending to matters concerning sugarcane farmers. Panton was asked if Guerra was absent to show his discontent with the party's direction.
You know, that's a question for the Honorable Miguel Guerra. I am not aware of his discontent with the functioning or running of the party. In fact, when he spoke to me, and he sounded very sick, in my opinion, I'm no doctor, he was very apologetic for not being able to be here. But if he is discontent, I'm sure he would be happy to share that with you.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. The repeat can be viewed on the station later tonight at 9 and again Friday at midday. Join us again Friday for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.